Yes, I noticed that Kody and Robyn were at one table and I was at another. I'm not gonna necessarily say hi.
Oh, nasty. Oh.
How's it going? How is everything? That would be disingenuous. And that would mean I was gonna be friends and friendly. And I'm not. I'm not gonna be friendly.
That ace would have gone to there anyway.
And hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. The very first teaser for the newest episode starting on Sunday, September 15th was dropped by TLC, and it included an awkward run-in between Kody Brown's 4 remaining hairs on his head, Robyn Brown, and Christine. Kody and Robyn in this clip discuss how unhappy they are and appear to be incredibly jealous, and Christine's just like not even interested in entertaining them. This is a interaction that occurred at the sprinkle of McKelty and of Tony for their twins. So this was before the boys were born, and it appears all of this went down in Utah. Christine is seen hovering around her friends and some of her family members. It doesn't look like Janelle or her kids are in the room, but it does appear that most of Kody and Christine's kids are there. And Christine is very clear that she has zero interest in playing pretend, playing nice, or even interacting with the two of them. Awkward. You know, frankly, I can't blame Christine because for years she had to fake it. For years, Christine had to fake everything. She had to pretend like she was in a marriage with Kody. She had to pretend like she liked her sister wives. She had to pretend like she was into this lifestyle, even though she wasn't. She had to do a lot of pretending. So she's clearly at a point where she doesn't want to pretend anymore. And it's kind of what this reminds me of is when you go to a family function and there's that creepy cousin or uncle or aunt or inappropriate family member or their spouse of a cousin, aunt, or uncle or whatever, or your sister, your in-laws, and you're trying everything in your power to make nice and to make small talk, but then you get stuck in a corner with that weird person that has oddly no personal space. They are right in your face talking to you as though you can't hear them if they stood a few more feet away. And you really wish you would have just avoided them, but you were too nice and you just knew that you had to suck it up. That's this interaction where Christine's doing what I would never do, and she's just frankly ignoring them. And honestly, go Christine. Kody, of course, notices how happy Christine is, and then this makes Kody feel upset because Robyn and Kody are in a space where they are not doing well. And this is apparently the worst they've ever done in their entirety of their marriage. And Robyn comes in full steam as the narcissistic enabler and flying monkey, making excuses for Kody. After I saw this clip, and I'll show you the full clip here in a second, it made me do a little bit of research about why Robyn is always defending Kody. And I am not a psychologist. I'm just constantly interested in the dynamics within the family and why people do what they do. And when I started reading about enabling and narcissists, everything Robyn does made a lot of sense to me. So Robyn and Kody are not doing well, and apparently that is going to be a staple for what comes up this whole season. So let's get into the remainder of the clip.
I think Christine's in a good place because she's moved out, she's moved on. Rob and I are really kind of in a struggling place. 23, busted, bummer.
We're probably doing the worst we've ever done in our marriage. It's been tough. It's been tough between us.
Robyn is now in a monogamous marriage, right, with Kody. And so the marriage is of 2 people. Yes, there's outsiders because Kody, he has these exes and all these children, but they're in a monogamous marriage and they've been in a monogamous marriage for years. So but he's, I think, in many ways just so angry because he's such an egomaniac. Do you remember back in the early seasons, he would talk about how, he didn't want to look like a perv and he was doing all of these things because he wanted to show that polygamists were not like Warren Jeffs, and it wasn't about a guy that just had a bunch of women. But then yet all of the promos were basically the women engulfing him and fawning over him. And then a lot of the show was the women fighting over him and about him, and then being mean to each other because of what he was doing for the one that they were mad at, or that was getting things that they didn't get, which is understandable. But he's the one creating that dynamic because they're all fighting for his attention. And now he doesn't have that attention on himself. And a part of me wonders if this pouting that he's doing is because he sees that Christine is getting positive attention for leaving him, and that makes him feel like it's bruising his ego. You know what I mean? When you're around a guy that is a megalomaniac or really arrogant, cocky, and they get knocked down, and then they have to just be really either self-deprecating and act as though they're the victim, or they revolt, or they resort to like, she wasn't anything. That girl was so dumb. She was so ugly. I can't even believe it. And they devalue and degrade. I feel like Kody's in those places where he's either making himself the victim and allowing all of this to get in his way of his happiness, because I keep thinking, Kody, you didn't want Christine. You didn't. He said he wasn't attracted to her, and yet he is still pouting about this. So did he really like Christine? Did he? Because if he didn't like her, why is he pouting so much? He wasn't attracted to her. She wasn't a good sister wife. She didn't do all the things that he wanted. But now that she's gone, now he's pining. This man is ridiculous. And then Robyn is making herself the victim of the relationship with Kody, which is, again, how are you the victim in this situation? You got what you wanted. She didn't like Christine. She blames Christine for everything. Christine was her number one rival, and now Christine is not in the picture. So why can't they just be happy? It's either all for show, or they never really liked each other to begin with. What do you think about that?
He doesn't know who to blame, himself or one of the other wives. Kody's feeling a lot of rejection. And so I think he's kind of looking at me going, are you going to reject me too?
There is an aspect of this rejection and this failure that I think does link back to their belief system, because they went into this doughy-eyed under the cult belief system that this was the celestial path to heaven, and that with doing all of the things that they were doing, all of the sacrifices they were making, because that's one of the things I know people laugh about Kody saying the sacrifices that I made for you, but the sacrifices are part of the doctrine. They're told that by living polygamy and going through the challenges and the ups and downs and enduring the hardships of polygamy and the challenges of sharing a spouse, and for men, the men that are doing it for faith and not doing it for ego are doing it because they're told they have to do this in order to get into heaven and to reach the highest level of, eternity, which is the celestial kingdom. And they're told and browbeat over and over and over again by their leaders that they can only be the most righteous if they live the fullness of the gospel, which is living polygamy. So by all of this unraveling, they're also having to deal with that fallout. So as much as I don't like Kody, I can empathize with the fact that part of his depression could very well be that religious component of losing your religion and feeling like you've failed God and feeling like you've failed your calling and that you weren't perfect enough to achieve the unachievable. The problem with this belief system is it was designed by a man that just wanted to cheat on his wife, and it's been perpetuated year over year over year for almost 200 years at this point, and very infrequently is it ever able to be lived well, because you're demanding someone have the capability, a man, of servicing the needs of all of the women, making sure they're all taken care of, managing all of the women, managing all of the children, being the head of the house, being the leader in all of it. And that is a lot of pressure. There's been men that have talked about leaving polygamy and the immense pressure they feel because this is an impossible life to live. You don't have enough time in the day. You don't have enough resources. You don't have enough anything. And so then they all end up resorting to maladaptive behaviors, cheating the government, abusing welfare, finding favorite wives. And finding a favorite wife isn't because they're doing it to hurt other people intentionally. It's just that craving of intimacy. One thing I've learned from reading books by men that have left polygamy is that their lack of intimacy with anyone, because they can't be fully themselves, because all of the women want them completely, but they almost feel like divided by all of it because they can't be one with someone. And I think most of us as humans crave that one-to-one connection. So I do have empathy for him in that, but Robyn is making excuses for it. So Kody's dealing with the deconstruction aspect of it, his failure that he's feeling for God, to his faith, to his community, and then to how he looks to the wider public. But then she's stating that he's feeling all of this rejection. And so now he's starting to sabotage with me, and I have to have my guard up. Check it out.
And so I'm on my toes. I'm having to consistently make sure that he is not sabotaging our relationship.
So Robyn says she has to be on her toes and constantly make sure that he isn't sabotaging their relationship, which is putting the responsibility of Kody's behavior on her. And in one breath, you can look at this from narcissism and say, she's enabling the narcissist by excusing the behavior and believing that she can change the behavior by doing better or keeping him on task or keeping him focused or motivated. And the problem here is it's not just about narcissism, it's also about his belief system, because the women are told that if the husband doesn't love them, it's something that they're doing wrong. Owen Allred actually wrote a list of how to live celestial marriage. He was one of the longtime prophets of the Apostolic United Brethren. And one of the lined items was that if a man isn't loving you and if he's not giving you what you want, you need to look at yourself and figure out what you're doing wrong to make him not love you. So when Kody says to Mary, it's your fault that I don't love you, that's directly from the cult. It's being told over and over and over again that it's not the man's responsibility whatsoever for his own emotions and his own behavior. And instead, it's always the women's responsibility for the man's behavior and the man's actions. So everyone has to like revolve around Kody in the cult and in the family. And so they're told in the cult over and over and over again, the only way that you're going to keep this man happy is by doing everything that he wants, obeying his needs, keeping sweet, not fighting, not disobeying him, not being, a nasty woman and independent and making your own choices, letting him be the leader, sacrificing your own thoughts, your own opinions, your own needs, your own wants for him, because he is the God and he's the person that's going to take you to heaven. Because at the core, Robyn believes that her only path to heaven is through Kody. And so Robyn, being still stuck in the belief system, probably feels a sense of responsibility to Kody to control how he behaves, thinking if she does something differently, if she acts better, if she behaves better, if she's communicating better, which is why she would constantly say it was all of the other women's fault, right? They weren't the ones communicating. They weren't giving things to him in the bedroom. They were being the ones that were not listening to him and not allowing him to be the leader. And so she's doing all of these things, trying to be perfect. But at the end of the day, the flaw in this doctrine is that the men are never given responsibility or accountability. And so therefore, they don't have to evolve and change. They don't. And it fuels narcissism. It could make an average man who's not a narcissist into a narcissist because the whole system is built to make him a narcissist. And even the women become narcissists. It's sad. And the saddest part to me about all of this is that Joseph Smith, who started this religion, never lived polygamy outright. He hid it from everyone, most members of even the church. He never had to do what he demands others to do. He never had to try to like juggle all of these relationships because none of the women knew about each other. His wife certainly didn't know about them. The church members didn't know about this. No one knew about it. And then he gets in trouble because he's outed for doing it, and then he dies. He ends up getting killed. So Joseph's own teachings and own demands he couldn't achieve himself, which should tell the followers themselves that they couldn't do it. So why should I try to do something that he couldn't achieve? It's an impossible task. So getting away from the religious side of it, Robyn is enabling him because of that. And then she's built in to be an enabler. But the problem with enabling someone is that they never experience consequences. So I found an article about narcissistic enablers and how to recognize and deal with one. And one of the points here is that they protect the narcissist from themselves. And it says one of the clearest signs of enabling is when a person tries to protect someone from themselves. Similar to people with addictions, narcissists behave in ways that are reckless, destructive, and likely to lead to some kind of fallout later on. Narcissist enablers frequently run damage control after these destructive outbursts. They might try to patch up relationships, apologize on the behalf of the narcissist, attempt to protect the narcissist's self-image, or clean up the messes they made. So she's trying to protect his image. She's enabling all of his bad behaviors by protecting him because she's told from the very beginning to protect polygamy at all costs. Really, Mormon fundamentalism and polygamy is a test in the design of narcissism, frankly. Robyn always chooses Kody's side. She is addicted to the attention and the feelings she gets from Kody. She subscribes to all of his deluded beliefs. She is encouraging him. And unfortunately, all of those don't help him. They hurt him. A narcissist can't survive without an enabler. And Mary was his enabler for the longest time, and now it's Robyn. But Robyn is also narcissistic herself, which is why they butt heads so much. It's all just really weird and sad. But Kody and Robyn's problems are twofold. Kody's a narcissist and to their religion. And Robyn and Kody are always playing the victim. And what bothers me is that in all of this, they're not talking about the destruction and the deconstruction of their faith and how polygamy is part of the reason why all of this is happening. If we wanted a true picture of polygamy, they would actually be talking about that. They would be detailing the failure of their inability to do what they were supposed to do. They would be discussing the deconstruction of it, where they stand in their faith, but they don't. And they just sort of push through because, again, they've been programmed to keep a happy face and smile through everything and keep sweet and endure to the end. It's hard to break a habit that's been indoctrinated into you from a very young age. And even though Kody became a fundamentalist Mormon as an adult, he was already an LDS mainstream member. And so a lot of the similar beliefs about perfection and living the perfect life are ingrained in that belief system in the LDS church. So Kody and Robyn are still victims of themselves, victims of the religion, victims of everyone, jealous of Christine, because honestly, they probably see the freedom Christine has, and in many ways they want that, but maybe feel like they can't have that because it would be sacrilegious, right? Robyn wants to be the most righteous. Kody wants to be the most righteous, but then they also want the happiness and the freedom of what Christine has. And Christine is showing you that this is what freedom is and this is what happiness is. And they're just going to be like, nope, we're just going to stay miserable because that's what God wants. It's so weird. It's so sad. Kody and Robyn are a mess, and will be very interested to see how this plays out for the rest of the season. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss. Bye, everyone.